Alright, let's talk about the thing we all dread the most, or at least some of us do. Hi, how are you messages. The bane of my existence. Whenever I go to Twitter and see that one notification for a new message, I'm like, oh, this is great. Did I get a commission update? Is there a sponsorship offer? Is someone, offering me their services again? Is this a spam bot? And it's just a single message request saying, hi, or alternatively, hi, how are you? Which those messages in and of themselves are very interesting to get into. Now, personally, I don't get back to hi, how are you messages, but there is some fascination with it because I have to understand that even if it is a hi, how are you message, there is someone on the other end that may want something from me, whether they're looking to be a friend, whether they're looking to talk or chat, whether they want me to commission them and this is a bot account in disguise, I don't know. But at the end of the day, hi, how are you messages are very elusive. You don't know what's going on behind them. You know that there's some energy behind them, there's some intention, but you might not fully know what that is. But I did see recently, even though the thread was posted over a year ago, one of my friends, Kangazeroo, or Kangazeroo, or Zero, last year he ended up putting together a very intuitive thread on the do's and don'ts, the tips that you might need for initiating a conversation with someone on social media. And this applies not just to social media, but in general. It is, in my opinion, the solution to the hi, how are you message, the right way of doing it. Not that hi, how are you messages are a wrong way of doing things, but expecting a response back, especially if that person doesn't know you, it might not happen. And obviously, there are some better ways of going about it. And Zero put together this wonderful little thread that I wanted to go over today, share some of my personal experiences with these similar sentiments, these tips, and also kind of reflecting on how I send messages to people that I am getting to know for the first time, because I struggle with that too. Leaving good first impressions, meeting new people, making sure I'm not a weirdo, but that cat is out of the bag. I'm known as that weird life jacket fetish guy that does YouTube videos, so couldn't be worse for you guys. But in all honesty, I did used to send a lot of hi, how are you messages when I was first getting into furry, and that might not have left a good first impression. That definitely didn't leave a lot for the other party to work with. And so I want to go over this very lengthy thread that Zero put together and did an awesome job doing so, let me just say, and give some of my thoughts and opinions on my own experiences with both sending and receiving messages like this. And also some other infographics that an artist that I followed put together and put out there a bit ago that I want to, relate to what we talked about today. Let's get started. So the thread reads as such. Hello, this will be a thread on tips, do's and don'ts on how to introduce yourself and start conversations via Twitter or any other messaging platform. I've seen a lot of discourse on the hi messages some of us get and want to help those struggling to make connections. And you have the example below of hi, hello, how are you? I'm good. And see, you don't really get anywhere with these very vague messages. You don't know what the point is. You don't know what they're getting to. Sometimes it's a lot of energy to do that back and forth with people, which that's valid in and of itself. And so there's some easy ways to circumvent it from the initiator's party on how to make things a bit easier for both parties to interact. I actually want to start this thread by coming from the other side, as the recipient of such a DM. How should you respond? Well, you're well within your rights to completely ignore them or give minimal responses back. I believe it's more helpful, fun, and courteous to help the conversation move along. It can be a teaching moment and help give a confidence boost to the other person. I understand messages like this can cause social anxiety and be annoying at times, but I find myself sympathetic towards others because I myself was there at one point too. And that is absolutely true. I was in the shoes of someone who has sent hi, how are you messages, or might have an immense amount of anxiety when trying to reach out and introduce yourself to someone for the first time. Or especially if you look up to them in some way, shape, or form because you like their fursuit, you like what they do, you like their profile, you like their posts. There are many different factors that go into how you feel going into a conversation. Like, I don't know if it's just me. For some reason, I always feel like I am at the disadvantage, in the sense that I am below them because I'm coming to them because they're superior to me in some way, shape, or form. It feels like the weird power dynamic is off-putting. But that also just comes down to, I think, self-confidence at the end of the day, and understanding that everyone's on an equal footing when interacting. But hey, I might have just solved my own problem by speaking it out loud. Good for me. We're doing great. Therapy is working, beta. But I honestly get both sides of it. Everyone starts from somewhere, and it needs to be stated now. If you send hi, how are you messages or have sent them, you're not a bad person. I just want to clarify that. Like, no one's looking at you poorly because of it. I at least understand that there's more to someone's end of the screen with why they're sending a message. Just because I don't get back to them or I might ignore them, I don't try to ignore them. them, but I just can't get back and I can't really do those sorts of conversations. It doesn't mean that I hate the person that sent it. It doesn't mean that I look poorly upon them. At the end of the day, I just kind of get back to the messages that I can, and it's not a personal thing. But at the very least, responding back and seeing how it goes, it can't really hurt. But either way, back to the thread. So instead of just giving a hi back, try a hello, how are you? Hey there, what's up? Hiya, how can I help you? Howdy, how are you? Or alternatively, meowdy. If it has a good energy that it's putting out there, then I'm happy with that at the end of the day. Responses like these can help move things along faster and can provide the initiation of the conversation. And that is absolutely true. Even on the recipient's end, it might be a lot more energy and effort to put into it. They can also respond by helping carry the conversation, helping move things along, because there might be, again, social anxiety on the sender's end. So giving them a warm welcome in response might motivate them to, open up a bit more, or to talk a bit more openly instead of vaguely. And that can help in the long run. It's not the responsibility of the recipient to send that in return either, but at the same time, it's an option that can happen. A little bit of empathy at the end of the day and helping things move along. It's not a bad thing, but it's also not a requirement. Questions are a great way to get to the point if you're curious as to why someone is DMing you. Try to afford a couple of outs, and if still nothing is happening, then end things with a, well, nice meeting you, or similar to let them know you have nothing left to say. And that's the thing. If you are responding to one of these hi, how are you messages, sometimes it goes nowhere, and sometimes it loops back in the circle of hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Hope you're having a good day. Oh, have a good day, have a good night, and then you repeat it the next day. Sometimes you just can't do anything with that. And it's valid to either respond appropriately or to not respond at all. At the end of the day, you're not entitled to be able to respond, and on the other end, you're not entitled to a response if you send one. That is just life. But let's keep going with this. Okay, so now on the part of the messenger. You've decided you want to reach out to someone for whatever reason. There's a lot to go over, so bear with me. What should you say? Where do you start? Well, before you DM them anything, understand why you want to. Are you looking for an art commission, asking for help, following up on one of their tweets, or maybe you want to introduce yourself because you think someone is cool and fun and want to be their friend? This is the most important part, and usually something that you want to answer within the first message of reaching out to someone. And that's the thing. Before you send a message, you probably already have some reason why you're wanting to reach out to someone. If you want things to move along a bit more quickly, don't wait for them to get back in order for you to say the reason why you're messaging them. Message them that. Think of it like you're sending an email. If you're reaching out to someone or a company and sending an email, you have the subject line and then the description there. You don't say just hi and hope for like a response back in that sense. Even though emails and messages on Twitter are two different things, when you're usually sending email, you're reaching out and explaining why you're sending the email or what the subject is about. If you make that point clear in the message that you're sending to someone, especially if it's the first message, it'll move things along a lot more quickly, and it'll help encourage them to get back, especially if they know what they're working with. Leading a message with the why is always a great strategy. Intros like these are great if an action is needed or requested. Hello, are you open for art commissions? Hi, do you know where I can insert blank here? Good evening, I saw your tweet about blank and wanted to say blank. And I'll say these are very good openers. The hello, in my opinion, should not be the only subject when you're reaching out to someone. And here's an example of how to initiate a conversation. This one is just like a cat. I'm assuming, it's a good opener for if you're talking to someone who's a cat furry or a cat fursona. Are you open for comms? Hell yeah, what do you want to get? And that's just getting to the point of what you're looking for. Or just, hi, are you open for commissions? I was looking to get a commission from you. If not, let me know when you might be open. If you just want to message someone to introduce yourself and to make friends, it can be a little different, and there's a lot of ways to go about it. So let's look at some. One of the best ways to go about it is with compliments. What do you like about them? In the example given below. Friend, I just gotta say your fursuits and outfits are so pretty. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much. I like those big paws of yours. And then we have the other example. Yo, I've never seen your page before, but it's incredible. Loving everything. Oh my lord, you're so much fun. Lol, thank you, and ditto. And that's the thing, kill them with kindness. It's not a gateway into getting to where you might want to be, especially if you're looking to make a friend with someone. If you want to say something nice to them, say something nice to them. There's nothing wrong with that. Complimenting someone is fine at the end of the day, especially if you're a fan of their work or a fan of some aspect about them that is very evident on their profile. It's a good initiator because then people remember that. I always remember the compliments I get. You can totally just message someone something along the lines of, hey, I think you're super cool and would like to be your friend. However, Understand not everyone is looking to make a friend today, especially out of the blue. It's best to keep your introduction brief and read the room to see how they're feeling. That is a very big thing. I have gotten plenty of messages from people asking me just downright, I would like to be your friend. Unfortunately, that is not how the world works or how things work. You can't really force relationships. You can make it apparent that you do want to be friends. And the best way that I have found this, especially with people that I've wanted to be friends because I have a lot in common with them, I really like their personality, I really like how they are, is one, just let things happen naturally. Like whether you interact with them IRL, interact with them strictly online. The best other way as well is just to show interest in what they're doing. Don't make it a super in-depth thing, but just sharing your interest in a similar thing is great. And not only letting that be furry too. That's another pointer. Don't be friends with furries just because they're furries. I mean, you can. You can if you want at the end of the day. But for me, a lot of the time when I'm making new friends, it's whether or not we're a fan of the same games, same animes, content creation, engineering, you know, the list goes on. There's some other aspect that you might enjoy or some other hobby or interest that you two can kind of delve into to become friends. And that's a whole separate thing about making friends. I feel like I'm going a bit off topic. But the main thing to understand is you can't really force friendships. Let's just keep going over the thread. Telling someone you want to be their friend may be a little on the nose and can be awkward for some. Just be nice, and if they seem to be engaging, continue on. That's really it. That's what it is at the end of the day. You don't have to make it obvious, and also making it obvious can make things a little awkward for some, but just enjoy the interactions in the moment. So you've said hello and a good opener. What should you actually talk about? Instead of small talk and asking how they are, talk about their passions or a shared interest maybe. Cars are a great talking point for me. I love when people ask me about my cars and share theirs. With the example, hello, I wanted to ask, I've not seen your cars. What do you drive? And that I would say is a pretty good opener. It leaves the floor open to conversation or for the other party to share their interests with you, if they're willing to do so. There's a lot of things to talk about, so have some topics in mind and keep small talk to a minimum. In general, asking questions is a great way to keep the conversation going. Also, talking about the other person instead of just yourself is courteous when you're the one reaching out. There is a fine balance in sharing versus only talking about someone else. If you're like only asking questions and they're like responding, you know, sometimes that isn't really a two-sided conversation. That's more of like just 20 questions, which is okay, but you might want to give a bit more about yourself so they get to learn more about you. Avoid open-ended personal questions like, what are you up to? It can sometimes be construed as a little creepy to lead that to a person you've just met. Talk about things they've done or do, art they've made or commissioned, your favorite things about them, etc., etc. I mean, some questions that you put out there or things you might mention might be more of like a personal friend sort of question, like, hey, what are you up to this weekend? What are you doing? You know, like, you can do that small friendly talk with like close friends. DMs are different than face-to-face conversing. It often just takes longer, but you can get more information packed into each message. Remember to always be sending a message that helps flows ideas. Things like, okay, cool, yes or no, are not always helpful when moving things forward. So that's why I say whenever you mention okay, cool, or something, you elaborate a bit further. You don't just do like one-word responses, you put a bit more into it. It shows that you're interested in really trying to like get to know them, talk to them. Not everyone will respond as quickly as you like. Some people do not check DMs often or maybe just aren't as motivated to meet new people. Avoid continuing to message them walls of text. Wait for them to respond. Don't get discouraged or upset with them. This is ultimately a problem that is solvable with practice. Get comfortable talking about other people instead of yourself and you'll appear more likable. People tend to naturally inquire about you as much as you inquire about them in a good natural conversation. That is absolutely true. But naturally, a lot of people will inquire or ask about you if they're interested with the conversation and the conversation or interaction feels natural. And avoiding messaging them walls of text, I feel that. But just remember, not everyone may be in the talking mood. Respect that first and foremost. If someone's responses are brief and concise and they appear to be ending the conversation quickly, let them and try again another time. You can't force a friendship. You can just ask them at the beginning, is now a good time? Are you free? If you're busy, I can message later. Also respect artists. They're trying to run a business, operate under the assumption that they use their account for business. Avoid fluffing their time and be brief. And that's very much a point to be made. You know, not everyone might be looking to be friends, and you can't force a friendship. All you can do is try your best, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But don't let that discourage you from doing more in the future, from interacting with other friends in the future, from trying to meet new people. And also the thing about artists is also true. You kind of do want to get to the point with what you're asking. That's why whenever I ask about like a commission or something, I'll just get to the point with asking, hey, are you open for commissions? Hey, how's the commission going? No rush, but just wanted to check in. If you're wanting to make friends with them, that's also a separate matter too. You know, being friendly is okay, but I don't really know how that works, since whenever I commission an artist, I just commission an artist, and that's it. Which, speaking of, I did want to go over a few different infographics that another artist that I follow, known as Augie Osborne, put together, which does show a bit of the artist's perspective when receiving messages with regards to either commissions or saying hi, or really just timing, which relates with a couple of points that we mentioned in the thread earlier. This is a post from Augie from last year around the same time. If you have any question for someone, ask. You will get an answer to your question faster and even save time. Don't. Hello. Hi. Can I ask you something? Sure. Insert the question. Do. Hello, I have a question. Insert the question. Hi, insert the answer. You'll get an answer to your question faster. Which I feel is true. It relates a lot with what was mentioned earlier about making messages concise so that the opener isn't just hi and that's it. And it's not to say you shouldn't do that, but there are some alternatives with the tips that we gave to making it a lot easier and more streamlined to get to what you're looking for. Now here's another infographic about responding to messages or leaving a follow-up when the person might not be able to get back. You have some individual asking, hello, can I ask you something? Hi, why are you not answering me? Me, meanwhile, 3 a.m. at my local time. They're asleep, they're relaxing, they're resting. And that also is a point to be made. There is a balance of leaving time open for people to respond versus pestering them for a response. You know, sometimes they might not be available, sometimes they might not get back to it, or they might forget. Forgetting to respond to something is very much a thing that happens. And so reminders or poking someone might be needed, but there's also a balance to doing that. But just wanted to make a point of that because these infographics are very good and relate to the point of what we mentioned earlier. Now back to the thread. I hope this thread makes sense. Remember to be concise and considerate. Always try and progress the conversation. Don't rely on the other person to do the talking. The better your opener in general, the better the response. Best of luck. And then a couple of other examples. Love your videos. Thank you. Hello, I don't want to be annoying, but I just want to say you were one of the people suitors that inspired me to make TikTok, and I watch you religiously and love them so much. You're all good. Please don't worry about if you're being annoying. I really appreciate you enjoying my content. It means a lot to me since I've always tried to make someone's day, and makes me happy to hear that it does. Everyone has a different way of interacting and opening a conversation. There's no textbook way to do it. There's no guide, step-by-step process for it. Everyone's going to have their own way of doing it, and everyone's going to have their own way of responding. What matters is just that you keep trying and keep trying to improve, do your best with conversing, because I know it is rough, it is a struggle to give good first impressions or to introduce yourself or to talk to someone. It is hard. I feel that immensely. But hopefully with these tips, you'll learn a thing or two about wanting to interact with whoever you might want to in the future, whether it's for making a new friend or wanting to say something nice to them or not wanting to seem weird or outlandish, which at the end of the day, you know, we're all furries. We're all naturally weird. Don't think that you're being weird, which is another point I did want to make about the previous example about I don't want to be annoying, but I just want to say I do this too a lot. When I reach out and message people about something, I'll be like, hey, sorry for the random DM. That is something I need to stop adding to the message. Do not apologize for reaching out if you have a valid reason to reach out. That is just a point that I wanted to make because I have done that many times. I still do that of like apologizing for being annoying when I'm just sending a message. It's like, if they don't want to get back, they won't get back. Don't necessarily think you're annoying from the get-go. Just be you. But on that note, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments, and also be sure to go and give Zero a follow. They do some really, really excellent advice points like this. I think they're putting another one together now. I saw it very briefly when I was waking up this afternoon. So if you want to give this a read or you want to follow Zero, the link to both of those accounts in the post will be linked in the description below. Go and check them out. Go and drop Zero a follow. Absolute sweetheart again. And if you want me to do a follow-up on any of these other points that I made or points made by Zero, let me know. I want to kind of flesh out ideas like this to help give advice because, you know, this is something I'm interested in. And if it helps you, that's all I'm looking for at the end of the day. And that's what Zero wants to do with these. He wouldn't be making these threads if he didn't want to help. So that's all it really is. But that's about going to do it for me. Have a wonderful morning, day, or evening. Life, stay jacket, and take care, everyone. Bye, guys.